Symmetry may be your friend, designer, but I'm not. I'm your ever-present design conscience, here to get in your face and to make sure you stop producing piss-poor vector graphics and polluting this industry with even more crappy artwork. Do I make myself clear, designer? Sir, yes, sir. I want you to be creatively efficient, designer, and build me a symmetric design that won't melt my freaking eyeballs. Can you do that, designer? Sir, yes, I can do that, sir.
Welcome to Vector Basic Training. This is the Symmetry is Your Friend video. I specifically named that part in the book, Symmetry is Your Friend, because I love doing creative projects, be it design or illustration, where it's symmetrical, because frankly, it's half the work and all the creative glory. So that's the best part about it. So I just finished another book that's all about ornament design. And symmetry works so well with ornamental because many things are symmetric when it comes to ornaments and those type of graphic devices used within design and illustration. So I thought that would be the perfect type of project to work through because it's going to take all the prowess you need in terms of your clockwork method, in terms of figuring out where to place your anchor points and how to orient your clock in your mind in order to build the shape needed. In this case, we're going to build this flourish in front of you here. It's a symmetric shape. We're only going to build this half. Then we're going to clone it, flip it, fuse it together using the Pathfinder palette to get our final art. So in respects to this, we're going to get started building here. And once again, anywhere in your art, your drawn form, where there's a point, it gets a point. It's that simple. I always lay down a guide because that's where the two sides are going to come together and it's a good place to start. So I'll start here. And in terms of this shape, we'll go, oh, you know what? We have smart guides on, so we're going to click that off and we're going to actually start this build process over. Works way better when you're working this finite to turn smart guides off. So we're discerning where to place our points. Do I place one here or here? And in this case, I think we do need to have one right here. Next one would be here and here. And then as we go around, if this is 3 o'clock, this would be 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12. If this is 12, going this way, forming this shape, what is that curve? Right now you're thinking, well, that curve is the left side of the clock, so this would be 9. Once again, we don't pull our Bezier handles too far because we just want them out enough that we can grab them. Point gets a point. Now going up, if this is like 6 o'clock, then this is a no-brainer because it's another point, so you don't even have to discern that one. Pull out our handles there. Orient our clock angled, going northeast if you think of it that way. So this would be like 6. This would be 9. And now this curve up here, this span, you're going to have to discern. Do you put another point in between, or can you get away with going here? I think we can get away with going all the way to the point, so we're not going to worry about that. Now, as this pulls down, we're going to want a point probably right here on the top part. And as it comes down and bends around, we'll definitely want to have one here. Here. And points, get points. Those are easy. Now as it bends down here, I think this is subtle enough that we can get away with no point in between there. On this one, however, it bends enough, we're going to have one there. Point gets a point here. On this curve, bends down right there. Comes up. And this actually helps me. I actually think it through and move my cursor to think and force myself to think, okay, if I pull the Bezier handle out here and this one out here, you know what, I think I can get away with just having the next point be there. So whatever helps you, I'm going to sound like Bob Ross here, happy vectors, but whatever helps you to think through and to problem solve in your own mind. For me, it was the clock. Once I figured out the clockwork method, it helped me, and it helped my students that I teach digital illustration to in the local VC program to understand and kind of demystify vector building. I think it'll help you too. But that said, maybe you come up with other methods. I think that's great too. We're going to have a Facebook page for Vector Basic Training. So if you go to Facebook and you just search for Vector Basic Training, you're going to find the Facebook page, and we have a section on there, and that is shared processes and methods. So if you have your own methods that maybe they work better than the ones in my book, then share them so everybody else can learn and become better creatives. That's cool. That's, I love sharing that kind of knowledge. There's more times than not when I'm visiting a creative person and I'm in their studio or I'm sitting by them as they work, and they're not really saying anything. I'm just watching them work. And as they work, they'll do something. They'll like use some command, or they'll use some tool, or they'll build in such a way where I'll go, wait a minute, what did you just do there? Oh, I yada yada yada. I go, I didn't know you could do that, and they go, well, I've been doing that for years. I can't tell you how many things I've learned because I've watched other people. So I think it's important to, be a sponge and suck in all that kind of knowledge, because it's only going to help you better. And the more you share it with other people, the better they get. The better our industry gets, then the higher quality design everybody does. And pretty soon, all those hacky crowdsourcing sites are going to have to compete with better designers. So at least that's what I'm hoping, but we'll see. Anyway, so this is the rough path built. I laid it down. Obviously, nothing is precise now. Nothing is dialed in. I will now take the Extreme Path plugin, the segment direct edit tool, and I will begin to grab on my path and form it and shape it so it's more closely moving towards the final form. Think of it like vector clay, and you're just grabbing it out of the proverbial pug mill. You're slamming it on the table, warming it up so that you can mold it into shape, or throw it at Vivian Nyhagen sitting across the room and get her all pissed off like I did in high school art class. Great. Somebody at Peach Pit is probably reviewing this going, can you run that by legal? We don't want to get sued by Vivian. We'll see. So nothing too exciting here. Once again, you can see it slowly morphing into its final shape. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. And it's a process. So the first process is the clockwork method, discerning your anchor point placements. Once you have that rough building done, then it's the Extreme Path plugin to form it and bend it closer to its final form, which we're doing now. So you can see this is a lot closer to the final form now, but it's not perfect. It's not elegant. It's kind of clunky, almost as if you cut this out of paper using an X-Acto. That's about the quality of the ornamental shape right now. And so the next step you want to do is you want to take your direct select cursor and you want to select every anchor point in your design that needs to be a smooth anchor point. And that's what we're doing now. So only the anchor points that need to be smooth. Ignore the corners like this one. That's a corner. Just the ones that need to be smooth, the ones that need to transition from one side to the other side and create a nice curvature, a nice elegant, smooth curve. So once you have all those selected, there's one up here, I think we have all of them selected, then you'll simply, with them all selected, go up to your control panel and you'll click the Convert Selected Anchor Points to Smooth, and that now makes them so they're easier to control. And at this point, we're going to zoom in just so we can see what we're doing, see it a little more precisely. And we're going to go back down here and just start from the bottom left-hand side and just work our way all the way around. Looks good. We're going to turn off Smart Guides because we don't need that snapping control at this point. Here's where prime point placement comes in. This point would look better if it was just slightly moved. So we got it close with the clockwork method, got it in the right neighborhood, but we're dialing it in at this stage, making sure the prime point placement is ironclad. Okay. Zoom out a little bit. So you can see how this is progressing. We're really making these, dialing in these curves by finessing these Bezier, by finessing the Bezier curves by using the Bezier handles. And that's what this part of the process is all about. It, especially on something like this, which almost every aspect of the art is a curve, it just takes time. You can't rush it. You don't want to rush it. You want to take the time to really analyze the curve and really make sure they're beautiful. Make sure, especially if it's an ornament, I mean, an ornament, hello, I mean, it can't be ugly. I mean, if you have an ugly ornament, that's like, man, that's like having an ugly Christmas ornament and you have to put it on this tree. Well, I created a bunch of ugly ornaments when I was, the whole egg thing with glitter glued all over it, and then your mom has to pretend she likes it, puts it on a tree. So avoid ugly vectors. Just take your time, scrutinize them, and like we cover in the book under the be your own self-art directing. One aspect of that is the fresh eyes effect. Just make sure, even if it's only 5 minutes, set something aside. Do something else. Research on the next project you have to work on. Make a phone call. Organize your file cabinet. Whatever. Or for my case, for the last 5 years, organize your fonts. Something I've been meaning to do for a long time and never have. Do whatever, but set it aside and come back with fresh eyes later and look at it. And almost always you'll find something you can improve on. So it's too easy for your eyeballs to get used to what they're looking at and not scrutinize things enough. I think too many designers get in that trap and they like to use excuses. Well, this had to be done by 3 o'clock and I didn't get my content till right before lunch, and I didn't even get a chance to take. Okay, fine, but 5 minutes? Tell me you couldn't take 5 minutes just to set it aside? I mean, you can always come up with an excuse, but how about you just try it? Just try it. 5 minutes. You're going to see something. You know, not everything you create is going to be award winning. Not everything you create is going to be something you want to put in your portfolio. But everything you create should be the best you can do, regardless of the limitations. So, you know, it's a good creative habit to get into as part of art directing yourself, is to use the fresh eyes effect, or whatever you want to call it, you know, just to catch those things, catch something that you might miss earlier at all possible. Don't rush stuff. Take your time. You know, I remember, man, this is a long time ago. This like almost 15, I think it was 15 or 16 years ago. I was working at the small little design shop here in Oregon, and we had to design a brochure for this youth event. And we're talking they were going to print like 30,000 of these brochures, and we're not talking full color process. This is like specialty paper. It was like when grunge was just beginning to get really popular, and I don't know, what's that band out of Seattle, Nirvana. You know, they were the hot new thing, and so that whole grunge effect, especially coming out of Seattle, being in the Northwest, it was what everybody was kind of jumping on at that time, the given bandwagon in terms of graphic genre. So I created this brochure that was very grungy. You know, everything's distressed, everything's, you know, messed up, nothing's clean and crisp, and the brochure uses all of these. Was it, well, yeah, it was a brochure. But it was more of a promotional brochure type thing, not we're selling anything. But we had to print up like, I think it's 30, 40, just a lot, a whole stink load of them. And we got this little print shop down the street to run it for us. And we didn't care if the quality of the printing was that great, because the thing was so grungy, it would kind of look like we did it on purpose if they did a crappy job of printing anyway. So that was the whole reason we used them. We didn't need to go expensive, because if they screwed something up in terms of printing, it's just going to look good because the style is that forgiving. So it actually worked out good in that respect. Well, I failed to make what's called a folding dummy. And a folding dummy, for those designers who haven't been in the industry that long and have no clue what I'm talking about, a folding dummy is something you create for a printed piece that you give to the printer so they can look at it and understand the orientation, if it has two sides, how those sides relate to one another. So in this case, so they don't print the inside of the brochure upside down. You know, that seems to me to be common sense. I don't know how a printer could screw that up, but I didn't give them a folding dummy, so that was their excuse. And needless to say, they made a mistake, and they printed like 30, 40,000 of these things, and the outside was fine. You open it up, the inside printed fine, but it was upside down. And so the art director comes to me and goes, "Did you give him a folding dummy?" And I'm like, no. Great, we're gonna have to eat these. And I'm trying to tell the art director, I'm going, that's stupid. I'm going, just tell the client that's, you know, I guess you could say it's lying, but it was grunge, so I thought it just went with the whole aesthetic. I said, just tell them that's our purpose. We wanted them to, you know, they had to turn it around, and that makes them pay more attention. You know, like I just said, sell the soap, you know. Well, he didn't, and we had to eat all the printing costs, and I kind of got my butt chewed out. But anyway, so we're done now, finessing all the Beziers. We have our final ornament. That looks great. Now, this little part I saved to last because I just wanted to show you, once again, that it's not all point by point. Like with this, I would probably, sorry about that, didn't mean it to drop off the edge of the page. I would build this using a shape building method. Okay, it just, you know, it'd be more precise, and personally, I'm kind of monkish when it comes to this. Now, here's an aspect that I didn't cover in the book because, once again, this is one of those things that it's a personal preference more than something that will benefit you. But I'm really anal. I don't like having a point here in this span, so I'll rotate this just so the anchor points won't appear in this length of the path. So that's just me. That's just my OCD tendencies, I guess you can say, coming out. So we're going to bring this shape to front. So now that we have these two shapes, use minus front, and we get our shape. Get rid of this extra shape I created, and there. Now we have all of the vector assets needed to create our final art. So at this point, we're going to flip it. So I put this on its own layer now so that we can go ahead and show you how to do that. Now, if we select our shapes and we go unite, and we do that to form one compound path. Now, just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to remove the stroke and fill it. Now we're going to clone this. Clone is F3 on my machine, but essentially it's Command C, Command F, paste in place. And we've cloned this shape. Just so you can see the difference, we're going to color it, oops, I'm going to do that. We're going to color it blue. We're going to select the reflect tool right here. We're going to click, we're going to turn Smart Guides on. This is where Smart Guides comes in. Tells us we're on the anchor point, so we'll click the reflect tool. That'll be the orientation it reflects, and we'll reflect the shape. So that shows you how to reflect. Now, when you select, we can get rid of that guide. Now, when you combine two shapes, something that I always do, the part that I always like to overlap one of the shapes a little bit, and this prevents that problem that we cover in the essential plugins video, which is the redundant point issue. If you leave them butt fit, meaning one straight edge next to one straight edge, and you try to combine it, sometimes Illustrator will create 2 points. We don't want that. We'll check this shape after we do it to make sure we don't have that. But I always overlap it a little just to make it a no-brainer fusion together, or unite as it's called here in Pathfinder. So with both selected, we'll go unite. And now we have one compound path. You can see that here. Now we're going to check. We're going to see if this shape has any redundant points. So let's bring over the Better Handles plugin. And once again, this isn't a plugins video, but like I've said in other videos, all these methods interrelate, overlap, and correspond with each other. So it's okay to talk about a plugin here because you're going to use it when you're doing this type of work, especially with ornament work. So we select it and it tells us there are 3 paths. That makes sense. 1 here, 2, and then 3. And all of the anchor points in these 3 paths total 98, and we don't have an exclamation point, so we don't have any redundant points, so that's great. So we don't need to worry about redundant points. Now that we have our final shape, we can color it. And that's how you can use symmetry, symmetrical aspects in your vector creative methods. There's a lot of samples in the book that shows a symmetric type of art being done. A lot of the final avatar icons I created that I showed you in the combo method video were all based off of a symmetric orientation. So this is a great way to save time, have a lot of fun, and I hope you learned something from this video.